All right, newspaper fans, good evening, and welcome again to another segment of interviews for featured artists here on thenewsgayper.com. I'm Peter Henry, and I'm speaking with Luca Barbieri. Did I say that right?
Yes, you did.
Yeah, I did. Who is a co-author, along with Jake Smith, and that is right, Smith or Smythe? Smith. Smythe. Aha, see? Who wrote the book, The Hardbody Chronicles. And let me tell you, folks, that is quite the book. So, Luca, we're going to get right off to the bat here. And the big question I want to ask you is, why did you decide to write The Hardbody Chronicles?
Why did we decide to write The Hardbody Chronicles? Well, here's the deal. My husband and I, of 19 years, have a third in our relationship. And our third has been with us for 14 years.
Uh-huh.
So for the first 5 years, we were just a duo. And when we got together as a trio, we kept telling him stories of our sort of wild years. And he was fascinated by it all. He had never partaken in any of the sort of gay life that Miami Beach had to offer, or Ibiza or Fire Island or any of that. And eventually he said, these stories we should put into a book. And so we took the best stories of those 5 years and condensed them down into one, and there's the book.
So the book was actually 5 years of you guys doing all of that sort of circuit boy thing?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes. The book is about 8 men who become 4 intimate couples, and how their lives all intertwine once they all become couples. So it does start 5 years in the past, and then as you learn each character's backstory, it brings you all the way up to part 2 of the book, which is the sort of narrative of all of them being at Stonewall 25.
Uh-huh. Now, when I mean part 2, that's what happened towards the end of the book. We don't want to give that away.
I'm sorry?
So was that in the book, that part? Stonewall? Yeah.
Yeah, that's
that was at the end.
When you've gotten all the backstories of how everyone's met, then everyone converges on Stonewall 25, and you get everyone's different perspective of that, and the story moves forward.
Well, it was quite a book, I'll tell you right now. From beginning to end, it was like, I don't know, you know what I mean? I just know if I should step in the shower, or if I should pack my bags and head to those islands. I wasn't too sure what I should do. So here's our next question. What's that?
It's a great, trashy summer read. I would like to think that it's much more than just a trashy read.
I think that it was. Well, here's the part we're going to get to. Here's the part I'm sure everyone wants to know. And you don't have to go into too much detail, but the big question is, did you and Jake really, truly do all that is mentioned in the book, that the two of you yourselves, in particular, had done? Because there were some crazy things. You going to admit to them, or what?
Let me answer the question this way. The book is a roman à clef, and nobody knows what that means, so we put the definition on the back of the book. And a roman à clef basically means everything that's in here is based on real events and real people. We've changed enough of it so that the guilty won't be found guilty and the innocent will remain innocent.
So should we say it was actual events, but were they dramatized, or they were actual events that just held back names just because, or were they actually...
No, they were dramatized.
They were dramatized.
In some cases, there are characters who are an amalgamation of 3 and 4 different people.
Uh-huh.
So it's not verbatim, but it's
but did the actions happen? Such as
you'll recognize people and you'll recognize events, and you will. It's a kind of a guess who that person really is.
So then the actual things like the sex parties and those actual things, they were true.
Yes, they were.
Yeah, and the things that happened in them were things that you've done.
Within reason, yes.
I knew I'd get you somewhere. It's pretty crazy, I'll have to say. It's pretty crazy. But here's a really good question, though. I think a lot of people like to know this. How do you feel now about yourself, as compared to that time, back then when this book was based on?
Well, the book takes place basically in 1994 and 95.
Right.
And it's that transition moment when the drugs for AIDS finally were proving to be effective,
mm-hmm.
and so you have this turning point where, and Stonewall 25 is really sort of where it all coalesced, of where the despair of the past gave way to hope in the future.
Right.
And that is the pivot point in the book. So it's not to make the book sound too heavy, because there certainly is a lot of wonderful guy-on-guy stuff that happens.
Yeah, it certainly is.
How do I feel about it? We're almost 20 years away from that, and so it's the story of how couples survive or don't survive.
Right.
Those
times.
The things that life slings at you.
Mm-hmm.
Not everyone in the book comes out smelling like a rose.
Right.
Unfortunately.
That is very true. Okay, so now, well, I think we kind of already answered it, actually. Well, maybe we didn't. Another question I had was, the things that you've done then, and this is going to be a real, obviously, candid question, are they things that you would do today or are still doing today? And I think you know what I'm talking about.
I have no regrets about my past whatsoever. So, I've led a very sustained life until a certain age, and then I met my husband and off on the roller coaster we went. Right. And it was a very exciting time. I happened to live in Miami Beach at the moment when Miami Beach was the center of the gay universe.
Exactly.
So it was a very exciting time to have gone through. Is my life still like that? No, not at all. Do I indulge in some of the same things? Perhaps.
We're just going to leave a little hint. We want the folks to read the book. That's the whole deal here. To be enticed by what we're talking about, because you truly have to read it to, I'm sure there are many people in the gay world who have been there. Obviously, there are thousands of boys these parties you're at, these islands and these trips and these places. So, of course, there are people who've lived that life, but I don't know how many have written about it or would want to.
Well, the book is not necessarily about circuit parties as such, but everything happens against the backdrop of that.
Right.
Against the backdrop of the infamous Black Party in New York, the magnificent White Party at Vizcaya in Miami. So it happens against the backdrop of all of that, but it's really the drama that I think all sorts of couples face, whether they're living in a glamorous world or not.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to navigate life. It's hard to navigate all the things that come thrown your way.
It is.
And when you're moving in a very fast circle at a very fast speed, it's all the more challenging.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people have not.
These are men with a lot of disposable income and a lot of free time to get into trouble.
I was envious. Wish I was there.
Into trouble they get.
I wish I was there. We all had our own Ibiza. I think if I'm saying that correctly, and we've all had our own Fire Island. I've been to Fire Island. Of course, I haven't been to Fire Island quite the way you've been to Fire Island, but I've been to Fire Island. Was Fire Island the same? Wow, when was I there? Was I there in the 90s? Perhaps I was. I have to stop and think for a moment. My God, I know I was at one of these places. Were they as wild to me as they were to you? Probably they weren't, because I was partnered and being a prude at that time. And I almost wish that I weren't a prude, because maybe I would have had the opportunity to experience something like that. Would I have wanted to? I don't know. I can't say I wouldn't. That's for sure.
The Hardbody Chronicles is a story of hard-bodied men. These beautiful men who moved within the circuit world, who were just idolized from afar.
And
they led lives of glamour, but if you get up close and look at the details, everything wasn't always pretty.
No, everything isn't necessarily.
It was a tough life that took its toll on a number of people.
It will. It's taken a toll on.
We all know friends who got sucked into the vortex and didn't come out.
Yes, we have. And our final question, this is a good one too, I think. What advice would you give the gay men, the generation of today's gay men? What do you think, if you had to say anything to them as far as the way that they live their lives now?
It's a very different world, but I think the comparison is, in the 90s there were circuit parties. Today you've got massive cruises, which are, in respects, the latest evolution of huge parties. And so you've got a week-long party on a cruise ship of 3,000 plus people.
Right.
What is my advice? Excess is not always best.
Okay.
That in moderation can be a lot of fun.
Right.
Excess simply for the sake of excess leads you down a very slippery path.
I mean, I guess the big question is: do you think that gays today, especially young men today, we see a lot of, it is different. It was different for all of us. We were who we were then. People who they were in the 80s and 90s. Now here in year 2013, you have gay men who are more brass and bold and are still doing these things. But I guess my big question when I say this to you is, do you think that they need to? Does anybody need to do that? Is it a part of what a gay person should be? Do you need to be at every party, bouncing around, showing off your butt, or whatever the case might be? Or is there more to life? I guess that's the big thing.
There's certainly more to life.
Yeah.
Obviously there is. But I think when you're in your 20s and your 30s, that's a very attractive world to be drawn toward. and if in the 90s it was circuit parties, and today it's the huge cruises.
It's the cruises. Have you gone on any?
They're really one and the same in their own fashion.
Uh-huh.
And so it's something that people really want to partake in. It's a I don't want to say this. In the 90s, the circuit parties were, in a way, a gathering of the tribe, a gathering of all these men who had a sort of certain sensibility to
right.
And it was a gathering, and it was a real tribal sort of thing.
And they're usually all beautiful.
Quite that in terms of the time, but it's certainly a way to spend a week in a completely and totally gay world.
Wow.
Which, if you're coming from anywhere other than a major city, you don't experience that the rest of the year, and that's a very exciting thing to be a part of.
I guess it was. Well, it's definitely a good book. Now, you guys are on Facebook, of course. We see a lot of postings, and I hope you're on Facebook.
You're on Amazon.com.
You're on Amazon.com.
We have received over 40 really positive reviews that just... I'm amazed that people take the time to write a review.
Well, that's good.
And people have been very... very positive in their critique. So I am thrilled. I think we took our time and we wrote a good book.
You did. Now, is there a book too?
It's a good read.
Is there another book coming, or because I noticed that Jake is a writer? Yeah. Well, I enjoyed the book, and I hope that people that will read it and get from it what they will, because everyone's going to get something different. Some might come off saying, "Oh my God, they really do that." Others might go, "Oh my God, I wish I was there." There were times when I did do that in the book. I was like, "Oh my God, they really do that?" Then there were times, "Oh my God, why wasn't I there?" So it was exciting.
I think that the thing that makes it intriguing is that all the excesses of that period are sort of revealed in one fashion or another over the course of the book.
It was definitely an eye-opener.
It's a real sort of, the velvet rope gets lifted and the curtain gets drawn, and you get into this world that's just that's just phenomenal. It's a very fascinating world.
It is very fascinating. Well, I thank you so much for speaking with us. I think it's a great book. I hope others read it. I'm glad you guys had a good time. I'm glad you're still here to share the story with us. And I'm sorry we didn't get a chance. Yes, and you. And Jake, I'm sure. Fabulous. Luca, we really appreciate it, buddy. I thank you so much. We look forward to talking to you again. And did I ask you, is there another book, or there is not coming out?
Actually, there is. There's a sequel that is in the works as we speak.
Good.
And it continues with some of the characters, not all of the characters, and new ones are introduced. So there will probably be a new book in 2014.
Wonderful. We look forward to that. Hopefully we'll have you again back here on thenewsgayper.com. Folks, we were talking to Luca Barbieri, co-author along with Jake Smythe, correct? The Hardbody Chronicles. Yes, guys, go pick up this book and read it, alone or with someone, but be careful. Luca, we appreciate your time, buddy, and I hope we talk to you again soon.
Pleasure, Peter.
Thank you.
So much.
We'll talk to you later now.
Great. Bye-bye.